The success of staging any international sporting event can depend on the quality of the athlete's accommodation. They'll need to feel safe and secure. There will be a whole range of individual requirements. They'll want to mix with competitors from all over the world, and they'll need the space to achieve their very best. Part of Sydney's securing the 2000 Olympic and Paralympic Games was the city's commitment to providing an outstanding athletes' village. After all, these sportsmen and women would be taking more than just medals home. Their experience of Australia would be spread around the world, and their memories would last a lifetime.
This is their home, this is their place to return to, this is the place they refocus and gather their strength for the next day.
The siting and development of the village was always an integral part of Sydney's purpose-built Olympic facility at Homebush Bay. Furthermore, it was the first village in Games history to accommodate all athletes and officials in a single location. The village itself was divided into two parts: the international zone, where guests and media could come and meet with athletes and officials, and the residential zone, where residents could live in privacy. For such a high-profile event, security at the village was paramount. The village itself was a secure site 24 hours a day. Entry was exclusively by accreditation pass or day guest pass. When visiting the village, VIP guests, media representatives and NOCs were required to use the main entry. This provided a direct entry into the heart of the international zone. Access to the residential zone, however, was restricted. Providing a buffer between the residential area and the public Olympic facilities, the role of the international zone rose to predominance throughout the Games period. It was here in the amphitheatre that each arriving team was greeted with a special ceremony.
You are the heroes of the world. We welcome you with open arms. We hope you feel that you're at home. Let's join our hands and be as one. G'day, g'day. Welcome to Australia.
It was also here that the village residents could socialise, shop, as well as undertake more practical activities. Also part of the international zone was a media centre. This allowed NOCs to conduct press conferences without media needing access to the village. Everything was designed to make the residents' Olympic experience as smooth and as memorable as possible. But the real heart of the village was the residential zone, a private section that served as home for the 16,780 athletes and officials throughout the Games period. This zone was structured around a central road called Newington Drive. This avenue served as a landmark for residents and also acted as the hub of the wayfinding system. With residents from 200 countries and speaking 138 different languages, it was important that a simple navigation system be applied. As a result, the village was divided into 5 sections, each characterised by a colour and by the motif of an Australian animal. Accommodation was spread around the residential zone. These were in turn serviced by one of 22 resident centres, which operated like a hotel reception desk, assisting residents in their day-to-day living. Also there to help residents were 4 information stations. These provided information on the village, the games, and things to do and see in Sydney. As well as the accommodation dwellings, the residential zone was the site of the main dining hall. During the Games, this was the largest dining facility in the Southern Hemisphere, seating up to 5,000 people at a time. The dining hall operated 24 hours a day and catered to every taste and cultural need, as well as meeting the athletes' exacting nutritional and dietary requirements. The residential zone, however, was more than just beds and meals. The zone provided a whole range of facilities and services exclusively for the residents. The offices for the village management were also located in the residential zone. Getting around was made easy. Shuttle buses ran around the clock. And of course, the finest medical care was available 24 hours a day at the polyclinic. Obviously, the operation of such a complex facility required a considerable support system. The Village Operations Support Area, VOSA, handled the day-to-day running of the village with precision. As well as the principal Olympic Village, a number of other accommodation centres were established throughout Sydney. Located at Chester Hill, just 20 minutes from the main stadium, the Extra Officials Village was linked by a comprehensive bus service.
At the AS accommodation, we had a village environment. We had all the nice little touches that we had at the Olympic Village. We had like a residence centre, we had good transport for them, we had good meals and catering for them, we had good housekeeping. We really had the same standards applied to the AS accommodation as to any other accommodation, and I think they appreciated that.
Similar attention to comfort and efficiency was applied to the media village at Lidcombe, which became home to more than 6,000 media personnel.
The media village was a project we took on, just bearing in mind that, again, the media need a place where they can relax. They also have a tough time at the Games. They're out there from 7 in the morning till midnight. They're trying to get stories, they're trying to file stories, etc. They have to come back to a place, again, that is private and secure and a place that they can relax in. And we really did a great job, I think, at the media village in providing that environment.
The media village was structured around a village green that featured an enclosure of native Australian animals. This was immensely popular with overseas visitors. Accommodation for technical officials was provided at university colleges throughout Sydney. Allocation was based on convenience to competition venues.
We found that the tech officials has been very successful because all it needed was to provide the transport to support those locations, and the tech officials was a very successful operation.
Perhaps the most unusual and demanding accommodation requirements were for the grooms, vets and farriers involved in equestrian events. Modular housing was located adjacent to the stables at the Sydney International Equestrian Centre, ensuring grooms had convenient contact with their horses 24 hours a day.
I think for the first time ever, we really paid attention to the grooms' accommodation. It's a beautiful environment out there. We have some little extras, we have games rooms for them, we've got extra transport for them, there's a little pub down the road and we run a little shuttle for them. And we looked after the grooms just like we looked after any athletes. And I think for the first time this was done and they appreciated it.
With the Paralympic Village opening 1 week after the Olympic Village closed, it was imperative that minimal modifications would be required between the two games' transition period. Knowing from day one that the same accommodation and facilities would be used for both events, the village incorporated such features as wheelchair ramps, hearing loops, and fully accessible facilities.
An awful lot of in-depth planning relative to the needs of the Paralympians, and I think that was borne out in the actual Paralympic village operation. I mean, we really had committees of people who were looking at access issues and transport, and generally bathroom access was a big consideration, but we really applied ourselves to it, and I think we've delivered in that regard.
There were, however, some significant differences between the Olympic and Paralympic villages. Due to the smaller scale of the Paralympic Games, technical officials stayed in the village with the athletes. Even then, the use of the southern section was not required. A wheelchair, prosthetic and orthotic repair centre operated. Dog tidy and throws training areas were established, and to ensure that staff were well equipped, a training program in disability sensitivities and awareness was compulsory. Sydney 2000 will be remembered for sporting excellence, but also as the successful host of the world's largest sporting event. From design to construction through to operation, the villages were an integral part of making Sydney the home of champions.
The one thing that really held it together and the one thing that delivered the villages to the Sydney 2000 were the staff, the people. The people that we had thousands of warm, outgoing, lovely Aussies out there smiling, shaking hands, looking after people. Our people made the difference. Our people are the thing that will be remembered.
We are, all 800 of us, efficient, primed and ready, adaptable, flexible, knowledgeable, calm and steady.